Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Russell back here with another tournament report for $30 budget vintage. I know I've been a little quiet lately. I'll be honest, mostly I'm a little stun locked on content production after we went to Indianapolis and kind of spread the word. Honestly, things have been growing a lot faster than I expected, and I think it's kind of I think it's going to change my approach to content a little bit, but we'll talk about that maybe later. Well, no, we'll talk about it now. Basically, the thing is, I originally started doing the 8-deck brackets in paper, recording that gameplay, and that whole process would kind of take a while. I would try to do like one video a week for something like 7 weeks, and I'm starting to think that that might be a little bit slow for this format. I think I may want to focus more on the evolving and shifting metagame, so I might move to more like tournament results and deck techs, that kind of thing. I may also try to figure out ways to make like smaller bite-sized pieces of content with gameplay of decks that people are playing in a given week. Hope to see something with that pretty soon. So we'll see. I'm not going to stop making content. It's just going to look a little bit different, I think. Couple bookkeeping items. The Winnetaiga on the 25th has been rescheduled and relocated. Or I guess is in the process of those things. Some stuff happened. We're changing the venue, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be good. We're going to end up with a better venue, a better space, and a higher capacity. We were getting worried that we were going to have to cap the event at like 36 people or something, and I think we're likely to have more than 36 entrants because we just had 35 entrants for our weekly league night on Thursday of last week. Today is Saturday, so 2 days ago. So I think that when we're putting up a pretty big prize, I think that people are going to come. Like, I know I've got some people driving down from Columbus and things like that, maybe some up from Kentucky and all of that. So we're going to want to make sure we can have more than 36 seats. So stay tuned for details on that. I'll update the calendar in Discord when I can. Additionally, we are looking to do 2 more events, or 2 more things are happening, I guess is the way to phrase it. We're starting to look at the logistics of running online tournaments. Right now, it looks like we're probably going to try Spell Table over Modo. That's one where you actually need a camera that points down and records your cards. That'll be full color proxy friendly. You can't have bad proxies, and we're going to need to approve your setup and lighting and things before you go into it, but we'll have some more details on that. I think that the first one is going to be no entry fee, no prize support. Then going forward, it might be no entry fee, but yes, prize support. We do have a currently anonymous benefactor whose name will probably be announced at some point, who's interested in sponsoring some payouts, supposedly for online tournaments, so we'll see how that goes. I'm also interested in doing some of that myself. And then we're also targeting a Friday Night Magic of budget vintage at a semi-local LGS up in Columbus. We're looking to get a date locked in for that first time pretty soon. I think it'll be March 3rd, but we're looking to get that finalized. If that's something you're interested, stay tuned. I'll be posting in the Discord and things. And I'm going to try to coordinate rides so like I can drive 3 or 4 people up with me in my little Kia Soul. We can ride up, and that'll save on gas, make the whole thing a little bit more of an excursion, because honestly, the fact that there's a pretty good-sized shop in Columbus that wants to start running events is very cool, and I think that we, as the Cincinnati folks, should be doing our best to support them and grow the format, so we're going to try and do that and just be a part of that with them. So that's kind of all I have from a logistics and bookkeeping standpoint, I think. Oh, one last thing. There's probably more than one thing. We do have our Brewmaster Challenge going on this month. It is to build around the card Elder Deep Fiend, the big flash octopus that taps down your opponent's stuff. Card's insane. There's a lot of different shells for it. Personally, I've looked at some that are... You guys don't need to know what I've looked at. I've looked at Tolarian Terror, Arclight Phoenix, and like Wood Elves type things. That's all you need to know. But there's a lot more cool stuff to do with it. I think we still have a few days to submit. So if you're interested in brewing for that, go ahead and work on your deck lists. And with that, we're going to jump into talking about the results from our most recent tournament. And the first thing I'm going to say is that, guys, I am lost. It is kind of a good thing that the Winnetaiga has been delayed because I don't know what I'm playing in it. Lately, the decks I've been playing have felt bad, and I have felt bad for playing them, and I have played them poorly. I've become a perennial 1-3er at the locals. I do think that part of that is because I haven't really settled on a deck. I've been jumping around a lot, playing like semi-untested stuff. But But man, I gotta dig myself out of this hole. It's starting to be embarrassing. I played Blue White Miracles. I played pretty poorly. I managed my shuffles badly a couple games. Like one time I put a card on top that I wanted to draw, and then I just cycled in Ash Barrens and said bye-bye. I was like, what's wrong with me? I also had a game where... so my win con is 4 Sister Repentia, and then Entreat the Angels and 2 Mystic Sanctuaries to get that back. So a decent amount of win cons. But my opponent had a Plague Engineer. He was on like green-black rock kind of stuff, just like grind you out with Veteran Explorer and like Living Wish and things. And he had a Plague Engineer that was naming whatever Sister Repentia is, probably a human or something. For those of you who don't know, that's the... I guess we can just look at my list. It's the 5/1 that draws cards and gains life when it dies. So I was honestly just casting them into it to draw cards. Like I cast 3 of them as like 2-mana divinations. Then we got to the point where I had like 15 cards in my library. He was the Monarch. He had like 40 life. And I realized, so I drew my Entreat the Angels, and I realized that the only thing I had to put it on top was a Brainstone. So then I got really nervous that I wasn't going to find the Brainstone until like, bottom 5 cards or something. And then I wasn't going to be able to set up my Entreat and make enough Angels to win the game before I like decked. He was the Monarch as well, so if I was doing it in 2 shots, it would take an extra card because I would draw on the end step. So I hard cast the Entreat the Angels. I put 12 mana into it and made 3 Angels, and then I had 5 mana up. And I left up Counterspell, but he just had enough removal to basically invalidate my ability to win the game. One piece that I didn't think about in the moment was that I had a Castle Vantress in play, and the game was I was pretty in control of the game at that point, so I should have been scrying with my Castle Vantress to find my Brainstone, leaving like at least 7 cards below the Brainstone ideally, and then my Entreat the Angels could have been miracled instead. I would have put the same like 13 mana into it. I would have gotten 11 Angels instead of 3, which is a way better deal. 3, 6... I guess whatever, it doesn't matter. So anyway, I kind of dropped the bag on that one. So I think I've decided that Miracles is really just not my style of deck, truthfully. I think I've always thought I was like a blue-white control player, but I don't actually enjoy it that much. And I'm kind of bad at it, and I kind of don't want to put the time into getting good at it. So I think I'm going to move a more proactive direction. We'll see what that looks like. But I'm going to be spending some time trying to figure out what I'm playing in the Winna Taiga. Roby did pretty well with Miracles, so don't ditch it. I will say it's funny. I played Mystical Tutor because my deck was below budget at the time of playing it. But so much of the core of the deck dropped, it was like $22, so I just jammed a Mystical Tutor in. It was that or a Cryptic Command. But that's enough about me. No one cares what I play. Let's talk about the people who did well. And I'm going to try to credit them. So in first place, we had Alan playing Burn. God bless it. I love a format where Burn can do well. I don't know how much there is to talk about here. Get to Lava Runner's interesting. Shard Volley is interesting. 4 Flame Rift is cool. It does deal 4. Pyrostatic is cool. I like only 2 Fire Blast. I agree that 4 probably isn't the right amount. This all makes sense to me. I think Burn... I don't know, a Burn player can tell me that I'm wrong, but I think having the ability to cantrip your graveyard hate is important, so I think Burn especially wants Soul Guide Lanterns, but maybe the 0 mana is just important for like developing a Swift Spear and playing Tormod's Crypt on turn 1. I don't know, my gut says that I want to be able to cantrip these to find a bolt to finish the game. I like the sideboard mostly. Good deck, good job Alan, thank you for keeping Burn relevant. I think that Alan actually beat Martyr Proc, which a lot of people were like shocked, but honestly, I think Martyr Proc has more I think Burn has more tools for Martyr Proc than the average deck, because Roiling Vortex stops life gain, and most decks can't stop life gain. Additionally, Martyr Proc really wants to have the Speaker of the Heavens, the Angel Maker, turned on pretty quick, and Burn can slow that down, so it makes sense to me that Burn can, take some amount of matches off Martyr if Martyr runs a little cold, so... second place, we got our good buddy Doug running what is described as Thopter Gifts Pile, and boy howdy is it a Thopter Gifts Pile. So, Doug's an old school guy, good friend. he has a really interesting mind when it comes to Magic. I'm saying that as a compliment. I think he does a lot of things really well, and I think he exists in this format in a really smart way. And one of the things he talks to me about is that he likes to maximize the number of restricted cards he can play. So if you look in his list, we're playing Sol Ring, Balance, Tinker. I thought we were playing more. I thought we were playing Cruise and or Dig. Huh, weird. I thought there was a Cruise and a Dig in here somewhere. Anyway, so he's playing a lot of restricted cards. He's also playing just good interaction and a powerful game plan. Sort of to make Thopter Foundry, kind of tutoring it up with gifts as an option. He's been trying Anchor to Reality in addition to Tinker for his Batterskull and his Shurikai. I really like Shurikai. I think this card's very strong. He was talking in the chat about how I think Batterskull is getting a little pricey and maybe isn't necessary at 460. I mean, you can see his sideboard has like some timely reinforcements. I think he could potentially play some number of like Blossoming Calm is a card I really like. So I bet it sounds like he may move the Batterskull out, but again, we saw Mono Red take down the event, so maybe he doesn't go that direction. One thing I did think was very funny was the Triskaidekaphile. I believe he actually won with it. I think he sided it in against Roby on Miracles, and I heard Roby say after the match to a friend, I sided out all my removal, and he brought in a Triskaidekaphile. So basically what I'm saying is Doug is a mad scientist. Love that. This deck is cool, very powerful. I think Thopter Sword is actually a little underplayed. I kind of think Balance is underplayed too. Love this deck. I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker because I was trying to make this one quick. I got some stuff to do today. It's Saturday, but this is when me and my girlfriend are doing Valentine's Day, so I got some grocery shopping and stuff to do to get ready for that. Third, our good friend Chris playing his classic Mono Black deck. Now's the point where I'm going to talk about Mono Black. There were 9 different Mono Black decks out of 35. They're not all the same. Some are a little more aggro, some are a little more mid-range, some are a little more rats, some of them are Smallpox or the Rack. But the main thing is, I think they're all playing for Hymn to Turok. So I guess Hymn to Turok's good, right? We've talked about this list before. I think it's very cool, very proactive. It just has a lot going on. I think Chris has lately talked about how he's not so sure he wants to keep playing it because it's a little boring. And, I guess maybe that's the case. Maybe winning does get a little boring if you're doing it every week. I think that Chris is pretty high up on the points leaderboard right now. I think he's 5th or something. I think Will on Martyr is tied for 1st, which is awesome. Go Will. I will say, he plays that deck really well. If I picked up Martyr I'd still be a 1-3er because I would be bad at the deck. So, love to see those homies doing well. Next, we got Andrew. He's playing Affinity. We've talked about this deck before. It is still playing all artifact lands, which is good because you're hitting them off Forging the Anchor. You're juicing up Master of Ethereum, and you're just increasing your Affinity count and your Cranial Plating. The deck is good, and he's been doing well with it. I may have to check in and see how he's felt about the presence of energy fluxes in the metagame. But yeah, good deck, good player, good work. 5th, this was Jim playing a different Mono Black deck. This is a little more mid-rangey. I know that I talked to him about it, and he is of the opinion that Dark Ritual's bad. Don't play it. And one thing I talked about was that Dark Ritual is better if you're Dark Ridding into something that produces advantage, like a Ravenloft Adventurer or something, an initiative thing, a Planeswalker, something like that. So it's really interesting that the aggro version of this deck that Chris plays is on Dark Ritual, but is on no Ravenloft Adventurer. And I think that's because really this is aggro, right? You really just want to it's fine to Dark Rit out a Nighthawk Scavenger and just go to town, or Dark Rit out like a couple of Dread Wanderers. But Jim has decided to go a little bit slower. Misery Shadow is cool. It's actually a really strong card. A lot of the budget going to that and some Pack Rats. How many contain... We have no Plague Engineers in this list. That's really interesting to me. I would plan to play some number of Plague Engineers. But, again, Jim placed 5th. I didn't, so what do I know? I like this deck. I was talking to Jim about Cut Down. I also talked to Chris about Cut Down when he was playing Blue Black Flash a while ago. And it sounds like we're coming up on the card in the format. I think that it gets it done. So if you're interested in 1 mana black removal, don't play Fatal Push. Stinky. Play Cut Down instead. Fatal Push is really not good in this format, I think. And it appears that Cut Down is. So, cool. Good deck. Next, we got Andy playing. This is a new one. A little modern inspired. Bant Walls. So it's a bit of a budget. I did not know there was an opposition in this deck. That's sick. Bit of a budget investment for 2 Arcades. I know this has been popping up in Modern. So pretty cool to see that going. This is actually the first time I've seen the list. I know he's on the Gates plan, which is something that maybe more people should consider for their 3 and 4 color decks, because I hear it's doing pretty well. Oh, that's cool. Is Arcades the only dragon we have? I think so. Well, that's cool. Yeah, so really just trying to get value off of our Wall of Blossoms, Wall of Omens, and Arcades. Cantrip a lot of these cheap creatures that'll later become big beaters. Hold the Gates is cool. Okay. High Alert, also cool. Wall of Denial. Kind of nuts. I feel like some decks can't kill you through a Wall of Denial. That's interesting. With power greater than target creature's power. Wow, so this is Plague Wind. It's just Plague Wind. I wonder if this is better or worse than Slaughter the Strong. Slaughter the Strong is 1 white. I think everyone chooses up to 4 power worth of creatures and destroys the rest. This is probably better because it's a true board wipe. That's a sweet piece of technology. Yeah, this deck looks crazy. Cool sideboard. Really respecting artifact decks here. I like it. Cool deck. Next one, we got Riley. So I played against Riley. This is actually my 1 win of the night, because apparently having a bunch of prismatic endings and Swords to Plowshares is good against the attacking creatures deck. So this is a Miracle Grow variant, basically wanting to stick a cheap threat like Quarian Dryad or Deep-Root Champion or Gorger, then cast a lot of cantrips and interaction and grow it to be a massive threat. Notably, a couple cool things. Disrupt is really cool, and it looked pretty good in the deck. It's actually really spicy. And the spiciest thing, I think, is Mana Vapors. Essentially a pseudo Time Walk, just tapping down your opponent and continuing to get in. And one of my favorite things is that Riley is really leaning on Paradise Lost for some late game advantage. This card is crazy. It's really, truly crazy. It's like mega regrowth at instant speed. I mean, you're averaging 7 CMC. So for 5 mana, you return 7 CMC worth of spells to your hand. In this deck, that's draw 3, or that's probably realistically draw 4 or more, right? Because you're probably getting 2 mana threat, 2 mana threat, then like 3 cantrips or something, which is nuts. Mystical Disputes were good against me. Really almost got me on those. Cool list. I'm interested to see it as it gets more refined. Paradise Lost feels underexplored. I might start playing this in my Peasant Cube. Hate the art, hate the set symbol, hate most things about it, but the card is kind of hot. So that's it for our top 8. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's not true. The last of our top 8 decks is Joe playing Chandra Tribal. I think this deck is cool. Look at that. There are 4 Torch of Defiance in this list. That's insanity. So a lot to take in here. Chandra's Regulator is what ties the room together, I imagine. When you activate a loyalty, I mean, that's strong, right? That's just pretty strong. Looks like we're Simeon Spirit Guiding to go a little bit faster. Sol Ring as well. This makes sense. Sarkon can kind of push down the game once you're ready to end things. Mind Stone goes a little faster. Love to hear about the 3 Mind Stone, 1 Chandra's Embercat split. That's very interesting to me. Bone Crusher Giant is a strong threat and piece of interaction. This deck is cool. I feel like as someone who played Control, this would be like a nightmare. And also, it seems really good against creature decks too, right? 4 Lightning Bolts, 3 Pyroclasms, 3 Bone Crusher Giants, a Sweltering Sun, board wipe on Chandra Flamecaller, removal here, removal here, dragon here. What does this card do? It's fine, whatever. This deck is cool. This deck is really interesting. I love seeing things like this do well. Mishra's Factories also make it hard for control. This is a sweet deck. I remember Joe posted in the chat earlier in the week. He said, I'm going to play Chandra Tribal, I think. And I was like, that sounds like it's probably bad. Again, shows I don't know anything about this format. This deck looks cool. And it did well. So shout out to Joe for that one. Again, this is what I played. Esper Miracles, boring, stinky, whatever. 2 other decks that I wanted to highlight. Robert got 15th with Rakdos Storm. This is really cool. Mishra's Research Desk is interesting. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. It's playing Storm cards. There's a Past in Flames. Looks very cool. Really unique take. I feel like Storm is actually underexplored and underplayed as well. And then the last deck I want to show off is I played against Peyton in round 4 on Dimir Ninjas. Peyton took 17th tonight, or the other night. This deck was cool, very cool. Just playing a lot of, really leaning on Changeling Outcast and Fairy Seer and Thousand Faced Ninja to get our bigger ninjas into play, like Biting Palm Ninja, which is a ninja that also gets to be a Thoughtseize, get card advantage off of these 2 4 mana, and invest in 4 Fallen Shinobi. This is a card I got hit with a ton in the limited format for it. I went to DC, that was what Modern Horizons won. I went to DC and played in that, and I got hit by Fallen Shinobi like 7 times over the weekend. I did not do very well in those events. I would recommend not getting hit by Fallen Shinobi, which I did get hit by Fallen Shinobi on Thursday. Peyton hit me, and I did get to scry with Castle Vantris. So, good stuff. Cool list. I wish we could play more Mist Syndicate Nagas. I know one thing Peyton talked about was that there's kind of a ninja tax, where like a lot of the ninjas we'd be interested in are just like randomly $1 or $1.50, like Mist Syndicate Naga. Like, Mist Syndicate Naga is not really playable in any format, but there's a bit of a ninja tax, so whatever. Cool list. What is some other? Okay, that's fine. Looks like we're a little tight on budget, so fitting cut downs might be difficult, so the Smother may be a concession to that. Overall, really cool list. Love seeing stuff like this. Love seeing little creatures be effective. And then, this means if this deck is good, then Lightning Bolt is good, which is, I think, a good thing for the format. So that's really all I got. Just wanted to go through some of the decks that were going on. Honestly, I just wanted to make another piece of content. It's been a while since I've gotten anything out, and I wanted to show some signs of life. The Discord is still hopping and happening. We're up to like 140 people in the Discord, which I think is just mind-shattering. We are, a month and a half into this year, so we're 6 events deep, and each event has been larger than the last in paper. Like I said, 35 is the largest event we've had. We're still getting new people and returning folks. Guys, I think this format's here to stay. I really do. So if you're someone who's in another place that's not near us, not near Cincinnati, sorry about the Discord notifications. Let me close those. If you're watching these videos from somewhere that's not Cincinnati and you don't have a paper play group to play this format, I say really push for it. Make 3 or 4 decks, whether they're proxy or real, and just try to kind of bully your friends into playing with you between rounds, because I think once people give this format a chance, they're really going to fall in love with it and dive in. That's what we've seen time and time again. We joke about this format being the savior of 1v1 Magic, here to dethrone Commander. It's mostly a joke, but it's also kind of true. Playing 1v1 Magic has been hard lately, with pitch elementals and Ragavans and things like that. And we don't really have to worry about that here. Your deck's not going to rotate. It's always going to be cheap. And the gameplay is kind of good and cool. And you're not spending $1,300 for a deck that's going to be pushed out of the meta soon, right? If your deck gets pushed out of the meta for whatever reason, it's $30 to buy a new one. So, I don't know. I think if you're on the fence about trying this format or trying to get some friends into this format, go for it. I feel like the staying power is truly there. So, that's my shill. You guys know it. I'm Russell with $30 Budget Vintage. Check out the Discord link to join. Maybe you can be our lucky 150th member. And keep your eyes and ears peeled for upcoming events like an online tournament, all right? Thanks for tuning in, guys.